Welcome to politicalref.com. I'm going to run through my electoral projection for November 4th, 2016. If you've been reading my website, you know this is a change. I had been showing a slight Hillary lead until the last couple of days. Trump has definitely gained momentum and taken the lead in enough states to, I think, guarantee 270 electoral votes. But I see him getting more now. The big change today is Michigan. The polls there are showing Trump basically running even. Any poll showing a challenger running even at this late date, that is a strong indication that that challenger is going to win. So let's go through these states. Just looking at the polls only, Clinton has just enough to win the Electoral College, but as we know, that is not the full picture. The polls are very close. If you add the sample bias, Clinton loses. Sample bias plus shy Trump voter bias, Trump wins big, and then you add all of it together, the biases plus the late-breaking voters, you're going to see, again, a big win for Trump. Sample bias and shy Trump voter bias, in a nutshell, the sample bias results from pollsters estimating slightly too many Democrats coming out. They seem to be estimating somewhere between a +6 and a plus 10 Democrat advantage. I think it's going to be closer to +3 or 4. There I adjust for that bias. But only apply that to the polls that use it. Not all polls use that. So it doesn't make a huge difference, but it does make some difference. The shy Trump voter bias, that is where people who are polled are not being honest about the fact that they're going to vote for Trump. That is a small advantage to Trump, and I do think it exists. If you doubt that, just ask yourself, do you know anyone who's afraid to admit that they're going to vote Trump? A lot of folks are going to vote Trump, and they say they're not going to vote, or they're going to vote for Gary Johnson. A lot of those people are going to go Trump. That's that explanation in a nutshell. If you want to see it, just click here, and there's an article explaining all of it. So let's run through the states. Florida, the polls. There's so many polls. It looks like, using the polls only from the last 2 weeks, Trump wins. If Trump wins based just on the polls, I think you can assume that Trump is safe in that state. The big factor here are Cubans. You hear a lot of estimates from Democrats that, hey, we have a big, strong Latino turnout in Florida, and that's going to help Clinton. No, not necessarily. A lot of the Cubans are going Trump. This is something the media is not talking about. They are voting Trump because Obama has normalized relations with Cuba. The issue is enormous in the Cuban population. You never hear it discussed in the media. Florida is safe Trump because of the Cubans. Ohio, safe Trump. Not really worth discussing. The polls make that very clear. It's safe. North Carolina, in the polls, using just the polls only, they are tied in North Carolina. But what we're seeing is there's going to be a lot of late breakers in North Carolina for Trump. There's a built-in bias in the polls. There's the shy voter bias. Combining those factors, it looks like it's going to go Trump. What you have to remember here, folks, if a state is tied, it's not tied. If you're an incumbent, you should be at 50, or I'm using the number 47 as my threshold. If Clinton is not at 47, I think she's in trouble in that state. She's nowhere close to 47 in North Carolina. She's over a full point off of it. Wisconsin, I say I have that going Clinton. I do think there's a big shy Trump voter bias in Wisconsin. There's a lot of never Trumpers in Wisconsin, led by Charlie Sykes and Paul Ryan, a few others. And I think you're going to have a big break to Trump among those people, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think Clinton will barely pull it out at this point. That's what the polls are showing me, that she's pretty strong there now. So I just don't see Trump pulling Wisconsin out. Iowa. Trump is very strong in Iowa. I see him winning Iowa by almost 6 points. It's largely based on the polls, and then you have the built-in biases. The biases aren't too strong in Iowa. People aren't really that embarrassed to admit that they're going to vote for Trump in Iowa. Nevada, the big one. This is a very important state. The polls only are showing Trump ahead. You have the Democrats claiming that they've got a big turnout in Clark County, and that's going to offset Trump's lead in the polls. But early vote turnout has been problematic in the past in trying to actually establish who's going to win. I think the polls, you can rely on those there. I think Trump's going to break ahead there. He's not going to win by a lot, but you have to remember Trump has a presence in Nevada. Um, they don't view him as a hometown guy, but it's not. I think that will help him some. But if you look at the polls, if he's ahead in the polls, I think it's safe to assume he's going to win the state. Arizona, Trump wins big. This has never really been a battleground. This is a perfect indication of how the pollsters have kind of painted a false picture this time around. I see the media abuse of Trump and Trump supporters has been so profound that you even have Democrats in polls by almost 80%. Democrats are saying that the media is trying to get Clinton elected. It's just had an impact. I think it has depressed Republicans' willingness to participate in polls. I have an article on the front page on that today. Anyway, Arizona's safe for Trump. Colorado, big state here. If he can pull Colorado, he's in great position. I see him doing it. He's only down by 2 in the polls. Add in that sample bias. Again, I think they're overestimating Democratic turnout. But I see more important than the sample bias here. I think you do have a shy voter bias that's substantial. You have Republicans who are probably going to vote Trump who don't want to admit it. And there's a lot of social pressure in Colorado to not admit that. So it's going to be substantial. But bigger, I think, in Colorado than anything is that the third-party candidates, Johnson, especially Johnson and Stein, they're going to pull a lot of votes from Hillary. The reason being, you have the marijuana thing. That's a factor. And I just think there's a lot of negative toward Hillary this week. And I think it's pushed a lot of people to those third parties. And Trump's going to be able to squeak through and win the state with 47%. You can look how weak Hillary is. She's only at 42.8. So to an incumbent at 42.8, I just don't see them winning. I think Trump takes that state. Pennsylvania, interesting state. I have Clinton winning it. The reason she's only up by 2.9 in the polls. That's not a lot in Pennsylvania. And in most states, the biases plus the late breaking momentum towards Trump would be able enough to offset that. But I don't think it's going to in Pennsylvania, and here's why. The Obamas and the Clintons are going to spend the last day campaigning in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is how the Democrats win Pennsylvania. Trump's going to win the rest of the state overwhelmingly. The T of Pennsylvania. I think he will have a good shot at actually winning the Pittsburgh area. But I do think they're going to drive up that vote in Philadelphia so heavy that they're probably going to be able to squeeze it out. So I give that one to Pennsylvania. To Clinton. New Hampshire. Big state here. This is what the New Hampshire in conjunction with Nevada and North Carolina, those 3 states are what give Trump his virtual certainty to win. I think Trump is almost a lock to win now, and it's because of North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Nevada. If he wins those states in combination with Florida, Ohio, and Iowa, he wins. And that's what I see happening. Here's his strength in New Hampshire. We can see the polls. A lot of them have him tied. A poll today, I think that I don't have factored in yet, has him ahead. Again, if Trump is tied in the polls, he's going to win the state. Almost certainly. It's because these biases are real in these polls. This is not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration. I'm not just some hack saying, hey, bias everywhere. These biases are real, and it's because of the unique nature of this election and how the media has treated it. It has really distorted the polls. And then you have the late-breaking virtual certainty to go majority to the challenger, the FBI reopening its investigation in conjunction with the normal incumbency rule. I mean, you can pretty much give it a lock. Trump's going to win New Hampshire. Here's the big one for today, Michigan. Michael Moore has been warning his fellow Democrats, we can't take Michigan for granted, and he's right. The polls, these are all recent polls. There's another poll that Real Clear Politics is including in its average that I don't. And that's because it has a D rating on the 538.com website. It's showing a 3-point lead for Clinton, so it's not really that much of an outlier. But if you average the polls, 1.8 for Clinton. I think there's going to be a sample bias in Michigan, for sure, like there is throughout the country. Again, that's just where the Democrats are assuming, or the pollsters are assuming too many Democrats. Shy voter bias, no doubt it exists in Michigan. There are going to be people who end up supporting Trump who don't want to admit that to their friends, who don't want to admit that to their fellow workers, and are unlikely to admit it to a pollster. There's going to be, you don't have to have a lot of those people. So I'm being conservative in giving Trump 0.5, half a point on that shy voter bias. But I think that's going to happen. Late breaking, again, the FBI in combination with the incumbency rule, Clinton is only at 42.8. Being so far below 47 really gives Trump a lot of strength in Michigan. I think he takes it. Again, grand total, Trump 295, Clinton 243. I think Trump is very solid with 270 electoral votes. Colorado and Michigan are kind of the icing on the cake. But for today, Trump is looking very good to win it all.